So as we go through Peace Skills trainings, I wanted to highlight the focus acrostic. Focus is a way to get through a process step, to take an opportunity and examine it from several levels and have a plan, a strategy to fully understand what the opportunity is and how we're going to organize and pursue it. So let's talk about focus. 5 letters. The F stands for find an opportunity. O is organize a team. The C is to clarify current knowledge. And the U is, with that knowledge, understand variations that can happen in this opportunity. Wrapping up, we would then select a strategy, not necessarily the plan or the answer, but just the strategy that you need to go after to fully examine the opportunity and then get to selecting a plan. So at the end of this, there isn't really a solution per se, but you fully understand the opportunity ahead of you. Now, I would love to do this as a work group format. So as we go through this together, I invite you to pause, go through a discussion, pick an opportunity, and we'll walk through these steps together, and you can go through it again and again. So let's begin at the top. Find an opportunity. As you're working within your local church, you may discover that you have malnutrition as a particular need in your community, or it's HIV/AIDS. Whatever it may be, you've gone through a discovery period through the various lessons in the Peace Plan and selected an idea. Someone from the church membership or the volunteers may have come up with an idea. Let's go through that idea. I may say, let's take the malnutrition, particularly for the patient population, may be a good example. The patients in the hospital are not getting fed. Can we do something about that? Interesting idea. So take a moment now and in a small group or whoever's in the audience here watching the video, pause this for just a moment and select an example opportunity. It could be almost anything, anything that you think would be a fun opportunity to pursue. Try to be specific with it. Take a moment. Now that you've had that opportunity, and just defined it lightly, we're going to come back to that opportunity time and time again and define it further, get more specific. We can say, well, who's going to be a stakeholder here? Who's going to be part of the team to examine this more fully? Maybe not the team that's going to have the solution in mind, but who do we need to bring in and have a conversation about this, say, this malnutrition problem that I was talking about? Our patient population in our community, at the local clinic and the local hospital, appears to be underfed. Some of them cannot cook for themselves because they're so sick or they are bedridden in some way. So, okay, that's an opportunity. Who do we need to talk to examine this more fully? Well, I can say probably somebody from the church who raised the issue. They're a stakeholder. They have a passion for this. Perhaps there's someone who says, well, there's an obvious step here. We're going to have to cook for them. Are those people in the church, in your church membership? There may be some that love to cook. They already cook for a large family. They think they can take this on. They may be a stakeholder. Those at the hospital may not be the doctors, might be the administrative team. There's going to be a coordinator you're probably going to have to reach out to. Great, that's another member of the team. The pastor may be for giving spiritual lessons, making sure that those people arriving at the bedside are empowered to talk about Jesus Christ, to give some mentorship, some love to that patient. They might be a stakeholder. As you go through, many of us can come up with 4 or 5 stakeholders right away, but there may be many more that come out as you really start discussing it. Many of these opportunities, there's between 8 and 12 people that will ultimately be involved in some way. A few guidelines for this. You probably need a few decision makers, people who can actually make the decision for this opportunity, that they say, yes, we can do this. We already talked about some people who have the skill set. Either that, for my example here, they just need to be able to cook healthy food. Maybe there's a lesson about a balanced nutrition that we need to provide to this patient, or special feeding needs. Maybe they have certain allergies or there's certain concerns in feeding those patients. Really explore the team and ask what skill set you need. So again, I'm going to pause for a moment. Go ahead and pause me here and think about those stakeholders. Think about the team. You can always add and subtract later. Don't be shy. Think of some stakeholders. Welcome back. As we go through this, we have an opportunity. You may have even said, hey, as we've gone through our stakeholders and organized this early team, we realize we need to put some more specificity in our opportunity statement. I'll call that the opportunity statement. How much, how often, how many people? You might start adding these details into that opportunity statement, but hopefully you now have an early list of a team, people that you need to reach out to and say, we would love to coordinate and have a meeting and talk about this opportunity. That's a great win. Just communicating a problem, communicating an opportunity is a great first step. After you have your team settled and can be added and subtracted to, depending on what you need, and your opportunity statement, your growing opportunity statement, now becomes the bulk of focus, the C, clarify current knowledge. This can take some real time. This is not a single day event. Most of the time, you have to reach out to other subject matter experts. You need to find other people who know more information than you do. And I always warn people, I'm not an expert in anything, but I know I can go reach out to other people who know more than I do about a certain topic. So maybe we need to talk to nutritionists, find out what is a healthy diet for the patient example that I have, those that are going hungry at the hospital. Maybe there are certain days that there is food provided and sometimes there are not. We really want to explore every avenue we can think of and brainstorm those ideas. What are the things we need to get organized and really understand, clarifying current knowledge? I know we're doing this as a quick work group here, but I do encourage you to take a few minutes just to bullet point, brainstorm, not only who we have to talk to, but what do we need to talk about? What are the topics we need to understand, and maybe even how are you going to get those questions answered? Is it a survey? Is it a phone call? Is it perhaps an outreach to another hospital that already has this kind of program? How are you going to clarify that current knowledge? What are the questions? Go ahead and take a moment and walk through that as well. As you work through the knowledge and you get smarter and smarter, you're going to get to a point, maybe over the course of a few weeks, hopefully a few days, but maybe even a few months. Some of these bigger opportunities can take a long time or some real time to organize and understand. But you start clarifying enough knowledge where you get into this analysis paralysis. You just feel like, wow, I think we know everything we need to know. And there's this instinct to suddenly go do it. I encourage you to hold back on that a little bit. Don't automatically jump into the plan stage and getting into the actual solution. Take a moment, look at the body of work you have. Did we miss anybody that we need to talk to? Did we really formalize and get succinct our opportunity statement? Do we understand what we're really going to do here? And do I have a full body of knowledge? Now I want you to understand the variation that can happen. Put it all up on the board, sit down and say, when does this not work? When is it different? Perhaps certain hospitals can do this and some can't. Some communities need to cook at home and bring the food versus there's something at some place at the hospital where you can cook it, but we need to provide the ingredients to get there. There are a lot of variations that can happen in an opportunity, and if we don't think about them, what could have been a very successful opportunity gets stymied, gets smaller because we didn't think of all the variation that can happen. For a lot of the places around the world, seasonality becomes a big thing. What's in season? Where do we get that food, for the example I'm thinking of? Who's available when? There can be a lot of variation. Think of them. Go through them and say, how do I break this opportunity? Might be another way to say it. I want to strengthen this opportunity so it can stand the storm. Don't build on sand, build on rock, right? So these are the opportunities we want to really have succinct and settled and established and sustainable. So as you have this knowledge base, take a moment now, break down some ways where you think the variation will have an effect on your opportunity. Just jot them down briefly. You can always add to this exercise later. All right, so now we have this variation. There may be a few things like, oh, I didn't think about that, or this is where we're going to have a stressed situation for this opportunity to survive. We want to really hone in on that sustainability. Fantastic. These are early steps. This is just practicing this example. For me, I'm using the patient feeding program, the church-initiated feeding program that we used in Rwanda during one of our peace works. Going through and understanding what can make it different. The last step here, now we really want to go do it. Don't do it quite yet. There's still the S, selecting a strategy. As you've gone through each of these letters, select a strategy may have been a letter that you were jotting down, what do I need to do next? Do I need to do a survey? Do I need to go interview other pastors? Do I need to go to other churches and ask if this is something they wish to participate in? Because it may be that there are 20 patients that need to be fed, but you only have the capacity to handle 5 or 6 of them. Other clinics might be interested in hearing about this. The selective strategy is more about wrapping your hands around the whole opportunity, asking other people to participate, getting feedback from other members of the church or local leadership. You want to have a strategy that you can move forward with to also present this idea to other people. Here's our opportunity. Here's all the knowledge we have. Here's our presentation we would like to give to the community to have people rise to the challenge, find passion in this, and participate. So some of this selective strategy is also the learning materials that you might need to create for this opportunity. I like the selective strategy because it's one last pause before you go into the other half of this, which we'll talk about, which is plan, do, study, act. It's a rapid improvement model. So take a moment now. As you've gone through this, this focus acrostic, you might have jotted down a few ideas off to the side of what else we need to do. Put those under selective strategy. That's where all that stuff now belongs. So take a moment, do that, and we'll be right back. All right, so hopefully you have a couple strategies you want to go after. And there are many ways you can pursue more information and get, I'll call it buy-in, or stakeholders, or people who want to participate. One person I forgot way back when and organized a team, did anybody go talk to the patients or the patient families? That was something I missed. Focused is designed to be sort of a living acrostic. It's designed to be a process. Don't be bashful. Always go back up if you think you've missed somebody or you've missed a step. That is okay. So let me take my example, the church-initiated feeding program. I'll walk through it one more time, and you follow along with whatever opportunity you came up with and see if we are kind of connected here, we've networked the right way. So I mentioned find an opportunity. Perhaps one of my church members had been in the hospital and said, you know, I didn't have enough food while I was there, I was hungry. And the church says, well, I think that's an opportunity. I think we can do something about this. Tell us more about it. Ask some questions. How long were you at the hospital? And maybe the patient, the church member had been there for 10 days, but he only had enough food for 3. And there was this remaining week he didn't have enough. Did he notice that other people were hungry? He said, yes, I think there's a real need at the hospital for this. We grow that opportunity. One thing that ties into this well is what's called the SMART goal or the SMART acrostic. You try to identify things that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, something we can do, and time-bound. There needs to be some sort of time component. So you can use SMART to hone in on an opportunity statement like that, get some more qualities that are specific. Once we do this and say, well, all right, so I think we can go after this as an opportunity. My formal opportunity statement might be something like, I believe the church, the local church and the churches in the community can support 15 patients 5 days a week for 2 meals to encourage healthy and wow, I am totally burning out. Let me just take it up from the SMART bound and I'll go from there. It's really getting hot too. Is the AC on again? I'm like, I keep concentrating on the drips down the back of my back. I apologize on your microphone.
No, okay. Everything's been really succinct.
Yeah, just I've run out of juice once in a while. I'm like, wow.
Ben, do you want to take a break and get some water?
No. I'm gonna power through this. This is gonna happen.
It's very well done, though.
So, I will take a break before giving the Transform series and wipe my brow. So the SMART acrostic. So you might use that, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll say, was I already inside find an opportunity?
You got through the list.
Yeah.
You got through the list, so yeah, just pick up at the end of the list and go from there.
I'll start there. So it's SMART acrostic, boom. So let me give you an example of what my opportunity statement might be. Okay, right. Was that before, did I say that before the SMART acrostic? I can't remember.
Didn't tell you.
Maybe I just don't do the SMART
If you
acrostic.
do, I'll cut it out. I have 3 cameras.
Okay, that's true. You can knock me over. Okay, so let's say I've done the SMART acrostic because I finally got through that. And let's talk about, that is weird. I can't remember if I put that before or after because I was like, maybe you should use the SMART acrostic. Okay, well, let's just start with my opportunity statement. So maybe my opportunity statement would be something like this. I believe my church and the local churches in my surrounding community, and you might even list out those 3 or 4 other churches, have the opportunity to feed hungry patients at the hospital 5 days a week, 2 meals each of those days. That might be more than enough. You might even have more detail there. Beyond that, who's on my team? I'm organizing a team. I am speaking to the patients. I am speaking to the church members who are already cooking for families. We might already have a feeding program at our church. Can they extend into the hospital? I'm looking at the administrative team at the hospital. What are the rules? How do I engage the hospital correctly and culturally correct as well? I'm also, I'm thinking about maybe I need to go talk to the local store. Maybe there's food that's donatable. Maybe this could be less expensive if there's food that is donated. Or the local farmers may be able to contribute to this program. I'm seeking out those stakeholders. I may have 5 or 6. I'm shooting for 8 to 12. I want to get more. Clarifying current knowledge. You may have already heard that leaking as I've been going along. Every question I ask is clarifying more knowledge. A few key points here. I want to have each stakeholder contribute whatever skill set they can already, as either a decision maker or as a skill. I want them to contribute that, but we need to start brainstorming. What else do we need to know? I think for my example, I need to know what healthy food is. If I'm going to feed patients who may be afflicted with infectious diseases or have certain GI complaints, gastrointestinal complaints, what can I feed them? What are the rules? What do I need to get for them that's going to do them the most good? I would also probably, adding to my team, I would talk to the pastor. There's an opportunity to evangelize here, to come alongside and show care for the sick and to love this patient. Can you empower me as a member of the church to go to the bedside? How do I do that, Pastor? What do I do to show the love of Jesus Christ at the bedside? That's another part I need to get right. You'll see there might be a series of lessons and just basic skills that need to come about. I'm adding those to select a strategy. I'm adding these lessons in at the bottom. Like I need to teach this, I need to survey this, I need to interview this. I'm just growing select a strategy to answer these questions. All of that is for my feeding program. Understanding some variation. Food has a season in most parts of the world. There are some things that I can feed you in the summertime that I can't feed you in the winter. Does that change our nutrition plan? There may be some availability. In some parts of the world, people obviously, we all do work. There may be a season where people are away in the city or coming back. How do I build in flexibility where people may be able to rotate and do this work? I need to understand the variations that can happen that will change or flex or stress this opportunity because I want to have a very sustainable model, and I think that's the goal. So for my feeding program, I'm asking these questions of nutrition, the when, the why, the how. What are we going to do to make sure that this is an idea built on rock, not on sand? Finishing up the selective strategy, I've been putting things under here. I know now that I need to interview my patients. I probably need to understand the rules, the regulations about engaging a hospital. Am I allowed to bring food in? I need to find those that are passionate for this opportunity in my church. I need to probably go out and seek what is a healthy nutrition from the stores. How does seasonality change the food that's available? Each of these strategies are there, not necessarily because I don't already know my plan, but I want to pause and make sure I have everything organized and that I've come up with the real solution to the whole opportunity before I proceed forward. So that's an example of focus. It can be used over and over again in all sorts of different pieceworks. When anybody has a moment, a thought, maybe I can do something here. I want to participate. This is where the focus acrostic can happen and say, well, let's focus on that opportunity and go through these steps. So practice this. It gets easier over time. I thank you for the time, and I encourage you, have a process to explore every opportunity.